The trouble with people is not that they don't know, but that they know so much that ain't so. And let me tell you something that ain't so when it comes to mortgage down payments. Did you know that 2/3 of the people in this country believe that you need at least a 20% down payment? That just ain't so. And I'm going to show you, as we continue, the exact number. Last year, what was the actual number that you needed for a down payment? And then I'm going to show you how to take that number down to 0. Yes, we're going to talk now about the 6 secrets for an easy down payment. And when I say easy down payment, those seems like those words don't go together, but they do. Because if you have the right kind of knowledge, you can learn how to pull the money together to get the property that you want to buy. So let's talk about this. So people think they need at least 20%, but how much do they actually need? In its 2021 report, the National Association of Realtors examined home purchase trends in the United States and reported that the median down payment for all buyers was 12%. Although every deal is different, this indicates that a buyer should have around $30,000 to $50,000 in order to buy a home. So there are 6 ways to pull that down payment together. And we're going to start with the most traditional way, and then we're going to end up with the most unorthodox way of how to pull that money together. But realize that we don't want you to really come up with $35,000 to $50,000. We'd rather you come up with nothing, wouldn't you? But let's first talk about how you could pull that money together if you needed to. Obviously, the most traditional way is cash. Cash is a down payment. The most traditional way to raise money for a down payment is by sticking to a tight household budget. This is the hardest way. In just a few years, you may have enough money to buy a home, or you may be priced out of the market altogether. This is the one I don't recommend you do. If you don't have the $50,000, don't save for the next 5 years to earn it. Go look for real estate deals first. Find the highly motivated seller, and maybe you don't need any money. But the last thing you want to do is to wait and save, because the market is going nuts. You'll be priced out. Get started now. So here's one you might not have thought about it. We call it multiple mortgages. Sometimes the cash is not needed if the seller is willing to carry back on a second mortgage some of his or her equity as a monthly payment, and therefore the down payment is not necessary for you. One option for a down payment is to use mortgages with all parties involved, including the seller, because the seller may not need the money immediately. This gives you flexibility with your down payment and helps you get into a property faster than saving up the cash. This is one I would do. Rents and deposits? How could a renter help you create the down payment to buy the property in the first place? Sometimes you can make the tenant pay for your down payment. By collecting a deposit and a few months' rent up front, you may be able to fund some or all of your down payment directly from the tenant themselves. For example, sometimes when you buy a property, it's rented. In my case, I bought a 12-unit apartment building that was rented to 72 single students at a university. And they all had rents and deposits and an extra deposit. It totaled $15,000, which I received the day we closed, but I didn't have to make my first payment for 30 days. So those monies, deposits and cash, came directly to me, and I turned it right over to the seller as part of my down payment. And therefore, this is a technique that is used every time you buy a rented property. Now, some states don't let you do this. Most do. Some states require you to put those rents and deposits into an escrow. But in this case, for me, I used the tenant's money to buy the property that they were living in, and they didn't even know it. A mortgage is a long-term loan. But sometimes, in order to raise the down payment, you take out a short-term loan. Short-term borrowings from banks, mortgage companies, hard money lenders, or using credit cards can be a quick way to raise the down payment for a great deal. However, because there is so often no collateral, these loans charge a higher interest rate and may have other fees and penalties. Therefore, make sure the numbers work out before you use a short-term loan. And don't ever buy a property using high interest rate loans unless it's a great deal. So remember I talked about how you use rents and deposits as part of the down payment? I also used a short-term loan. I was $5,000 short for closing costs, so I had to go to a bank and take a personal loan for $5,000. That put me into the building now, and that property eventually increased $500,000. So was it worth the risk? Oh yeah, absolutely. That's why I use these little techniques. Got to get in so the property can go up in value, right? Number 5, equity. Many people who own homes have a store of value that they never tap into. Equity grows both as homes appreciate and as they are paid off. When the homeowner equity reaches 20%, the owner can dip into that money and use it to finance the down payment on another property. So what kind of equity do you have? Do you have an equity in a life insurance policy? Do you have equity in a car? Do you have equity in a motorcycle? Do you have an equity in a single lot that you own that you're going to build a house on? Wherever you have equity, you can use that to borrow against in a short-term loan so you can raise the money for the down payment that you need. Partners? Someone would lend you the down payment? Maybe? Of course. If you find an excellent deal, there is bound to be someone out there who is willing to fund it. Partner with someone who has the cash or the credit rating necessary and split the profits with them 50-50. If you don't have it, somebody does. You don't have good credit? Somebody does, and they'd be willing to partner with you. If you don't have the cash flow, that means your job is not enough income from your job, somebody does. So you partner with them to qualify for a mortgage, or maybe even to raise enough money for a short-term down payment. If you don't have it, somebody does. And you just remember that. Never forget that saying. You never say to yourself that I can't afford it. Never. If it's a great deal, then you have to take advantage of it. And therefore, you think you can't do it by yourself, then find a partner. They'd be happy to do it with you. Maybe they haven't found a deal like you just found. And therefore, they'd be happy to split the profits with you, to use all their financial strength, and you use your mindset strength, and therefore you both win in a deal like that. Partners are my favorite, by far. You know, that 12-unit apartment building I was telling you about, I used all 6 of these techniques in order to raise the down payment. Do you know how much I needed? I needed $75,000. Did I have it? No. Where was I going to raise it? Well, I used all 6 of them. First of all, I needed some cash, so it required a refinance. So that would raise a lot of the cash. And then it required the rents and deposits. I raised $15,000 from the rents and deposits. Then I used multiple mortgages because the seller carried back a mortgage. And then I used a partner to qualify for the loan. And then I borrowed some money from myself at a bank to get the $5,000 for closing costs. And then finally, I used my own equity. I had a duplex. And when the seller said to me that you needed to give a down payment for the earnest money to write the contract, I didn't have any cash. And I was thinking about it. What can I give as a down payment? I had a duplex. And I said to him, tell you what, I'll give my duplex to you as earnest money, so you'll agree to this deal so you know I'm serious. So I used all 6 of these techniques to raise the $75,000 I needed, and I walked into this deal with absolutely 0 down on my part, and everybody won. Nobody lost. You see, if you use your creativity, you can come up with a solution to almost any problem. Okay, so that 12-unit apartment building example might have been a little complicated because I've been doing this for many years. But beginners, how do they learn this stuff? Well, this book called The Challenge is a story of me going to an unemployment line, picking people who have no jobs, no credit, no nothing, no experience, had never done this before, and teaching it to them in a process that's so simple that anybody could understand it. So if you're a beginner, you need a copy of this book. You need to understand how you can get started learning creative real estate techniques. So click on the link down below, order this free book, and let's get you started. Thanks for watching. When you click on the link down below and subscribe, ring the bell, you're going to learn some more information about how you can be successful in the real estate game. And make sure that you click on the link below to go to the next video. Good stuff in that one too.